I will, before I do, I'll do a very quick little comment here, because we started this wonderful Jaipur conference in Boulder, in which we hope will be an ongoing annual event. And it started with a panel on the poetic imagination, in which they decided that if you could define the poetic imagination, you probably failed. So, and they had some Ars Poetica poems. And I have a favorite Ars Poetica poem that I'll quickly recite to you. X.J. Kennedy's, maybe not the best Ars Poetica poem, but certainly one of the funniest. And it goes like this. The goose that laid the golden egg died looking up its crotch to find out how its sphincter worked. Would you lay well? Don't watch. So with that admonition, I'd like to introduce this collection, this group of wonderful young poets. Maybe I should do it in order here. Tulo, I want Tulo to introduce herself just by saying your name. Would you please, Tulo?
My name is Toluwanimi Obiwole.
Joe Graziola on Today's Show once introduced Marianne Moore, and he was a baseball player. And he introduced himself, too, as Joe Graziola. And she looked into the distance and she said, Joe Graziola, that's not a name, that's a poem. That's a poem, your name. So, Tulu, welcome. And next we have, get to mine. And I should say one thing quickly. We have so little time, but I want to say that Tolu is a poet. She is studying architectural engineering at CU Boulder. There's a combination for you. And in 1915, she became the inaugural Denver Youth Poet Laureate. 2000, what did I say, 1915? Well, that's when I was born. Next is Jennifer Foerster. Jennifer is the author of Leaving Tulsa. These books are in the bookstore, so you can find them. Published by the University of Arizona Press, member of the Muscogee Nation of Oklahoma. Jennifer was the Wallace Stegner Fellow at Stanford University and is currently pursuing a PhD in English and creative writing at the University of Denver. So welcome, Jennifer. Next is Layli Long Soldier. Layli's poetry has appeared in Layli. Layli, thank you. American Reader, Kenyan Review, American Indian Journal of Culture and Research, Pan America, Denver Quarterly, and she is currently on the faculty of Diné College. So welcome to you, and you have a new book coming out called Whereas. Maybe you might read something from that, or your choice. And you, we'll be asking you to go first. Orlando White is our final poet. He's the author of 2 books, Bone Light and Letters. He's a recipient of the Lannan Foundation Residency and Bread Loaf John Ciardi Fellowship. He teaches at Diné College also, and is a member of, is studying for an MA program at the Institute of American Indian Arts. So with that, I'm going to turn everything over to these very impressive young poets, and have you please start for us, Layli.
No, just.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Just pass it.
Should I just? Okay, so I might start by saying, in fact, if you had to say my name in Lakota, you would have a really hard time, so I'll say it for you. Layli a kichita hanska imachiapi da yahipi na chante washte nabe chuzapi. And I introduced myself in our way, and I just said it's nice to be here, and I come here with a happy heart, good heart. The panel is titled something about the word and the voice. And so at home I was thinking about, well, wow, that felt really broad. But then, of course, it allows for a lot of connections. So the first piece I wanted to share was maybe something that I wrote at a time when my daughter was first learning to speak. And there were a lot of thoughts I had about language, about the word, how to communicate to her, what kind of language to use. And so that's where this comes from. Edge. This drive along the road, the bend, the banks behind the wheel, I am called Mommy. My name is Mommy on these drives, the sand and brush, the end of winter we pass. You in the rear view, double-buckled, back center, my love. Your mother's mouth has a roof, your mother's mouth is a church. A hut in a field, lone standing. The thatched roof has caught spark, what flew from walls, the spark apart from rock, from stable meaning. Large cars, steady at the curve, palest light, driest day, a field of rocks, we are not poor, sealed in windows. You hum in the back. I do not know what to say, how far to go, the winter near dead. As we drive, you do not understand word for word, the word for you is little. But you hear how it feels always. The music plays, you swing your feet. And I see it, I, Mommy, the edge. But do not point, do not say, look. As we pass the heads, gold and blowing, these dry grasses, eaten in fear by man and horses. I'll have to keep it short today. I have a longer piece now, which is sort of a piece that's sort of meta writing, but it's also a meditation on the word, how a single word can come and wiggle its way into the imagination, something I sit with for a long time, and then it becomes this 8 or 9 page poem. So I can't read the whole poem for you, but I'll read a couple sections. This is titled Vaporative. However, a light may come through vaporative glass pane or dry dermis of hand winter bent, I follow that light, capacity that I have, cup-sized capture, snap-like seizure I remember small, is less to forget, less to carry, tiny gears, mini armature, I gun, the spark light, I blink at me to look, at me in light, I look twice, and I alight again. When I want to write seriously, I think of people like DG, for whom I wrote a long poem, for whom I revised, until the poem forgot its way back, troubled. I let it go when you love something, let it go. If it returns, be a good mother, father, welcome the poem, open-armed, pull out the frying pan, grease it, coat it, prepare a meal, apron and kitchen, sweat, labor, my love, my sleeves pushed to elbows like the old days, a sack of flour and keys, I push them, typography and hotcakes work, seduce a poem into believing. I can home it, I can provide it, white, gravy, whatever the craving. Poem, eat and lie down full. Poem, rest here full. Don't lift a single edder. I will close with this section. Wish I could read the whole thing, but one day we'll make it longer. Okay. Take a sip.
Next year.
Next year.
Next
Okay.
year.
I'll do the second half. Strange how lying on this side works, yet on my back I grieve, and turning to my left I rewind to a child's world. So I return back over to the first position of poesis, pre-nascent page, before any material thing makes. In this right side piece I work most. Nights I greet open-eyed, delicate pronunciations like thank you. I thank the empty room. I still my body, I work hard not to slip a centimeter in dark work, not to interrupt my own conversation. I move my mouth as if silently reading, as if a beginner or courting a friendship, careful holding to my chest small gifts, tight three-lettered words in three-word phrases. I welcome in the new.
Hello. Jadze, Shay, Rolat, Sujene, Marunan is Eshet Kabanisle, Nakajina, Bashishin, Kachi, the Shichi, Arokiani, Dashanala, Eight out in Enishla. Pronunciation marks are proof. Of one's own cultural sentience. Those authentic reverberations above the cap height where breath pressures tongue against teeth. Below the baseline where throat exhales the long accent vowel. In that moment, it echoes through nose, quivers as phonemic air. The ogonic tickle of clean. Artisten. Below the skull there is part of a letter, shaped like a bone, but the skull is not a skull. It is a black dot with white teeth, and the piece of the letter under it is not really a bone, rather a dark spine. This is not the end of language. When it was alive, it had a rib cage, each rib taken out by small pincers, the way strands of eyelash are removed from eyelids, and the dot used to have eyes, white like 2 grains of salt, but they were dissolved by 2 drops of ink. The way a letter fades on the page after many years of reading, or how it soaks into a fingerprint and forgets itself. The way a word tries to breathe inside a closed book. The way a letter shivers when a page is turned. Because underneath sound, there is thought, language, a complete structure. Within the white coffin of paper, if you shake it and listen, it will move, rattle like bones on the page. Yeah, thank you.
Jay.
Chahujifgados Jennifer Foerster. Ishte maskokit. Umalegida ojax. Mon omesan ichaswagi achusti omes. Jai Jayat Achufuchkis. Thank you. It's good to see you and be here. I'll just read 2 poems. I'm not going to read from Leaving Tulsa. I'm just going to read some new poems. Touring the Earth Gallery. Chicks dead in a once teeming reef, and a mother bird scouring the ghostly coral. We dozed, broke our machines. Fish follow plankton toward cooler seas. Shores erode in the storm surge. Our time period is one of glacial isostatic adjustment. Extreme heat and intensifying rain will bring the island state's collapse, the fast decline of seagrass. Is it enough that we exist? The passerine, mute, remembers flight. Smacked into glass that resembled the sky, it lies on its side in the dirt, yellow-feathered, wind-stuffed. In the 3rd chamber, dust, daily rearranged into pastoral scenes, beach strewn with radioactive crustaceans, the woman at repose with the sea behind her. Note that it is not the woman's figure that is kinetic, but the structures above her. Fugitive lightning, the skeleton of a dodo bird. There, where a poet scrapes her tail across the tundra, see the sand blowing over her camelid hair tunic. She dips her quill into a pigment jar stained with crushed cochineal, scrawls her forecast across the clouds. Neon blue antlers, squid, opalescent, spawning in the light. This is called Refrain. There is a woman who whistles from the arroyo. Oh, hollow bone, you have a body you cannot carry alone. What I carry beneath an ocean the same color as the sky is not my own, though I am always yours, collecting the fractals of falling hours, coral scales for your necklace. Nightly I fall from my skin to the surface. Glassworms drift in the trade winds, sighs of porpoises billow the dunes. Beneath the swimming sargassum blooms, the snail's sapphire wings, I depend on the rain of the dead for food. My umbrella, flared, is a fossil. Oh, abyssal fish with telescope eyes, fish with luminous torches, where are the whirling Spanish dancers? Where are my drowned teeth, ear, bone, jaw? A crab marches its marble shell across the ocean floor, as if the body was ensnared by its own memory. Body, I drag you like a shipwreck, pluck the pelican-trammeled weeds from the cracks of the gaslit shore to fasten into your hair nest. And some days I can only manage to sit on the deck with a cigarette, watching the tin clouds rust in the rain, my fish-shaped bath soaps bleed into gutters, no longer knowing blue from blue, flesh from light, sky from sea. I cannot echo your absence without dissolving you, cannot retrieve you from rock or from sound, nor can I return you. A long train freighting shark fins, plastic, steams across the in-between, where I wait at the depot, catching dust, holding a suitcase and your clammy hand, where the eyes of fish are not windows, just dreams the world has forgotten, like a bone afloat on a darkening sea. The arroyo's fluted surface whistles. Body, have you so soon forgotten me?
So my name is Toluwanimi Obiwole. I do go by Tolu. Most of the work that I have is very much tied to my identity as a Yoruba woman living in America. And one of my upcoming books is called Omi Ebimi, which means my family's water. And so I'll read you a few from that. They're very short. Obi, parent, the thing that gives life is a jealous thing, knows where to cut to take it back. 1. Baba does not want to be the detached retina of a name in a poem. He asks me not to write about him. I tell him we are the same. I do not write about myself, but everything I am choking on. 2. Mama knows she is the sonnet, the relentless Sistina of my life. If I do not curl her name into something readable, she will do it herself. We are each other's mirror. In my nightmares, she stares, hating the burn marks on our skin. Okay. So I'll actually give you all a choice. Would you like to hear a history lesson on tattooing practices in my culture, or would you like to hear a poem about my name?
Both of them.
All right, I'll read a short snippet from history just so I could get to my name poem. During the transatlantic slave trade, the Yoruba peoples were one of the most main source populations. Those sold were not allowed to carry anything. Villages were scrambled into one another with nothing to hold to get them back home. They began using ink and blade to carve names, maps, and symbols of home onto their backs. In the first picture I ever saw of her, Great Auntie has a full sleeve of family members and flower totems flowing down her right arm. She is spaghetti-strapped, shoulders bare in 1940s Lagos, gripping a beer and surrounded by men. Her eyes have slid to the camera in defiant nonchalance. In that moment, the only queen and country she knows is her own fist on the hard palm wood of the bar. She knows they will have to kill her to take away her history. I am timid at the scratch of the tattoo gun. Love and nothing else dance lyrically across my thigh. I am all soft guitar and midnight stories, sometimes by choice for the purpose of restoration, but sometimes being gentle moonlight is the same as being a hollow trench, a reminder of everything that was taken from me. There is no war in this kind of quiet. I know I want to take my womanhood by force. This is a necessary pain. become fully aware of the cunning knife that it is. I have bled gracefully to strangers for so long, I started hiding the jagged scars from myself. I want to wield my crown violently etched into my skin.
Do your name.
All right. Ile lango katosoma loruko. That means we look within before we name our children, for they will bear our bones. Precious. That is what my mother at a tender 14 named her unborn child, not knowing who would come first, boy or girl, just knowing it would be precious. But that is just one name embedded like a pillow to cushion the blows from the bullets that fly from the pistols that are my names. Toluwanimi, precious. Oluwafumilayo lajmoke arewa. Toluwanimi is a lightning bolt. Means to God I belong, because my mother labored nearly a month shooting prayers like arrows at the demons whom she would not allow to have her child. Oluwafumilayo is honey in your mouth. Means God has given me joy, the kind of joy that has the strength to endure 2 miscarriages and come home after a 12-hour shift to breastfeed a baby whom she hopes will grow up to speak English like the best of them. Even now, when she cannot express herself, she will sigh and say, I once knew how to speak that language, I don't know where it went. And I long to wrap her in the womb of my arms and tell her, Mama, who needs English when you speak the language of heavenly love? Olajumoke is a family wealth, means wealth valued together, sometimes becomes a resting place for weary men, so I hide it behind my teeth, so no one gets too comfortable with me. Arewa is a legacy, means beautiful daughter of the beautiful one. My mother's first name is a runaway slave. She shed the chains of Christiana for the royal history of Adetola, emphasis on the Ade because it means royalty. My mother knew she was a queen, so she could not bear a name that would mean one thing to her colonizers and nothing to her tribe. But once, I gave my name to a boy. He returned it to me mangled and broken and ugly, so I ran home, begging my mother to exchange it for something he could love. I called to her, call me Anna, call me Sarah, call me anything but this. I was choking on the cup of poison that I had drunk from a society that told me adaptation means renaming yourself, reinvent yourself in America. 2 neat slaps across the face was all the CPR I needed. She said, Toluwa, do not reject gifts from God. Your name may not be refined like sugar that slips through the cracks of your fingers, but it is in fact the sugar cane that men must break their teeth on before being rewarded with the sweetness. Your name holds weight. Every syllable is a beat from the talking drum that your ancestors danced to, and though you are so much more than your name, it is your crown, so wear it. Thank you.